I'm Richard Dodd, and you're listening to the Ecology Academy podcast. This is a show where we get to talk and learn about all things ecological, including interviews with top ecologists, both employers and employees, those working with ecologists, and also aspiring and inspiring career-seeking individuals setting out to make a difference. The show aims to provide you with insights, advice, and inspiration to help you succeed and excel as an effective ecologist and to make a real difference to our natural environment. Hi there, and welcome to the Ecology Academy podcast, and a happy new year to you all. Hope you've had a wonderful break. And just to introduce myself, Richard Dodd, I am an ecologist. I am a managing director of an ecological consultancy. And if this is your first time to the podcast, a very warm welcome from me. Now, if you are returning, hopefully you've had a wonderful break and you're getting something out of these podcasts themselves. If you are, please do let us know. If there's something a burning topic you want us to discuss, let me know and email us at hello@ecologyacademy.co.uk and you'll get your topic on there. So this month is January, and January is usually the month where we sort of focus our attention upon what we want to achieve through the year. Now, you may have made some New Year's resolutions back at the tail end of last year in 2022, and you think about, okay, well, I've set those goals now, or my aims and objectives. How do I implement them? Because that's the most important part. So all these plans, all these dreams or aspirations, fantastic. We need something like that to write them all down. But now we're in January, you've got to start acting upon these. You've got to start actually implementing some of the plans, the sort of aspirations you have for 2023. So we're going to give you a few tips of how to do that in this podcast itself. So, and if you are new to this podcast, go back and listen to a few of the other episodes, delve in. Let us know what you think about them as well, just to give us a little bit of feedback in terms of what you found interesting. What you didn't find interesting is also important to us as well, so we can actually move away from those areas. But let's have a look at the sort of how we can implement sort of the training we need to actually develop as an ecologist ourselves. And I've been an ecologist for 20 plus years. The way I train and I've developed myself has changed over the years. At my early stage of my career, it was more focused upon the technical skills, so learning about species surveys, habitat surveys, finding out field identification skills, what are the right methodologies for undertaking certain ecological assessments. And also learning about myself in the way I learn and develop myself. Am I a sort of more of a people have to, I'm more of I learn really through demonstration. I think that's is certainly the technical skills elements. That's really important to me. But also that's changed over the years, and now become a sort of more self-aware and able to take, I do a lot of background reading. I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, so to help me develop. I've also have a mentor or a coach, and so all these different things enabled me to sort of develop and keep developing. So don't think that learning is just the first few years of your ecological career. It is certainly that you should take throughout your career. Anyway, enough about me. Let's have a look about actually developing you as an ecologist. Whether you're thinking of becoming an ecologist, you are in your early stages, your mid-career, advancing career, this podcast is for you. So let's start about what we consider is to be competent at something. So SIME has got this great production, this leaflet, this brochure about competency framework, and it's a brilliant one because what I wanted you to take away from here is how they define how you know you're competent. So how do you know you're good at something? So it's important, and how do others know that you're good at something, and how you can demonstrate that upon to someone that you are competent, or equally so on a CV, for instance, or maybe in an application form that you're considering putting together at this time of year. So they are, and I totally agree with this, that you can say that you are competent if you know what to do, you know how to do it, you know when to do it, you know why you're doing it. You can consistently do it well, and you know when to seek help and advice. And I think that's great. So I'll just repeat those. So you know what to do, you know how to do it, you know when to do it, you know why you're doing it, you can do it consistently well, and you know when to seek help and advice. And I think that's brilliant advice, you know, in terms of how you know you can be competent. So let's have a look about developing what skills do we need to focus upon in order to become competent at a certain level. And there are different levels of competency as well. You know, you can know something in its basic format, or you could be an expert, you know, your authoritative figure upon each of these areas. So you can be competent as a beginner, but also you can be competent as, I say, an expert, an authority figure upon a certain topic as well. So what are those skills we need to focus upon? Well, it's down to you. You will have your own individual learning plan and what you want to achieve this year and what's achievable. I mean, using that SMART framework or SMARTer framework, SMARTA framework is going to be important to actually focus your attention upon this year. So just to let you know, we offer a training upon the skills wheel assessments, and I'll put that for free in this download itself. So I also download this. So if you go to the show notes, there's a link there. You can download the skills wheel for free. And the skills wheel is literally it's a guidance into sort of the different levels that I see, and based upon the same skills and transferable skills. Technical skills and transferable skills competency framework document there. So I'm not going to read them all out, but the technical skills, they do cover like habitat and species survey design. There's habitat and species identification as well. So and preliminary ecological appraisal. How you want to take that. There could be a preliminary route assessment, for instance. But also in our skills wheel, we've also put in now biodiversity net gain. So these are all technical skills that we need as ecologists and are focusing upon in order to deliver a service on behalf of our clients. Okay, so when we're talking about ecological consultancy skills. So habitat and species survey design. There's the habitat and species identification, preliminary ecological appraisal. You're more likely to want to take those in your first few years, and as you advance, there's going to be ecological impact assessments perhaps, and certainly now we're getting into biodiversity net gain, and by the end of this year it's more than likely, hopefully, will be mandatory in around about autumn, around about October of this year, mandatory to achieve that 10%, a minimum of 10% net gain. So go back and listen to the wonderful podcast we had with Nick White on the biodiversity net gain and the biodiversity metric itself there. Ecological appraisals. We had an interview with Paul Lossie about a UK habitat classification system and ecological appraisals in general. That was a really, really good one. We've also had, in terms of species design, habitat methodologies. We're looking at the BTO acoustic pipeline. So that was another podcast we had in last year, 2022. So the technical skills we all know about. We all know how to learn about them. There's probably a lot of courses out there, including our own. We offer the ecological appraisal course and wildlife legislation and report writing. I'm sure you've seen them all. I'm not going to go on about them. There if you want help and advice on there. There are others out there as well. I don't mind, unashamedly. There are others out there who do provide that training too. But we offer, let's say, that full online experience, and we're starting now to actually implement those in a sort of a hybrid fashion too. So there's your technical skills themselves. There's also, of course, transferable skills. And I'm going to focus a little bit more attention this podcast on those transferable skills. So what are they? Well, they could include a range of things like health, safety, and well-being. Okay, making sure that you are safe, making sure that others are safe on site, and also maybe members of the public and other people that may be actually on site itself. So you need to know your responsibility and the responsibility of others themselves. There's, of course, now a broad aspect of this is about communication. Now, communication could cover a wide range of things. It covers all those technical skills themselves, because communication is both about it's listening. That's the reason why we have two ears, one mouth. We need to listen probably twice as much as we sort of act. And I think that's the art of a really great communication, is the ability to understand and take advice and come up with an informed decision. So communication, that includes report writing, emails, how you deal with clients, how you deal with yourself and your colleagues. And it's a massive topic. In with that, there's project management. How do you get from stage A to stage B in the most effective and productive way? Information management, how you hold data in terms of acquiring it, interpreting it, analysing it, and then also the advice you give out itself. And really what's overlooked, I think, really is about people management. Because regardless of whether you are extremely introvert or an extrovert, there's going to be some sort of people management. You can manage yourself, for instance, or you may be part of a team, how you interact with a team. But also, I mean, how we advance our careers, it's something that we may be taking on extra responsibility for, maybe mentoring or coaching, demonstrating to colleagues. There may be opportunities as you advance your career, particularly go through, if you look at like a linear ladder, a process, we go from almost like an early career ecologist to assistant, to consultant, to senior, to principal, to associate and director. This journey, and at each of these elements now, there's going to be some requirement for you to undertake some sort of people management. Now, how you go about that is poorly defined, in my opinion. We are sort of expected to just pick it up on the job. A bit like, we go on training courses to undertake Great Crested Newt surveys, bat surveys, botanical work. We know that we are limited in terms of our own knowledge and experience, and so we go on training courses to gain that knowledge, gain the experience in order to then become, competent at those skills. But people management, people assume we can communicate to other people, we can manage people because you've been managed yourself. And part of that is certainly, surely it's just about mirroring behaviour that your line manager provides. Surely that's just the way you do it. Or it may be even worse than that, you're just expected to do it. You may not have a great line manager. I'm sure most of you have. A line manager, by the way, for those who don't know what a line management is, so a line manager is someone who actually is there to support you, advise you in terms of your own career development, also in terms of your own knowledge and understanding, guide you, maybe correcting you at certain stages, but certainly ensuring that you develop as an individual within your company or as yourself. So, if you're a sole trader, for instance, where do you get that from? Where do you get that management experience from? It's something that you probably have to take internally, unless you go on some sort of training course. Now, I've seen quite a few training courses out there for people management, and they range. There's a whole range of different sort of courses out there, and I say some of them take you from, being a first line manager. So this is someone who you may have some responsibility to actually mentor maybe one of your colleagues, for instance. So, first line manager is the first port of call. So you are there to actually to mentor someone. And that's becoming a sort of you may be some sort of appraisal you give to your mentor, shall we say, or your mentee, sorry. And then you become a middle manager, so you may be managing first line managers, for instance, senior management, and then of course executive or leadership scenarios as well. And each of these have different skill sets. And just to think that you just develop them as you go along, you just learn, okay, well, it's just, you're giving someone to actually mentor. I like mentoring and coaching people, therefore I should be a good mentor and coach. But it's also, there's a lot of other information out there. So, what happens, it's great when things go right in terms of your line management duties. But what I'm saying, if there is some sort of corrective behaviour you need to address, or maybe there are some issues you need to address within your team, for instance. So it could be that there's something that's gone wrong on site, and first time maybe sort of learning. It could be that you need to find out reasons why something's gone wrong, but then it's sort of corrective. That there's training in place, and that's great. But what happens if this is repeated? So what happens if it's repetitive sort of errors that have been made by maybe one of your people? How do you deal with that? Is it sort of do you come down, as a disciplinary, or is it something that actually that you need to find out the reasons why behind, why are these people or why is this person making a certain error? Equally so, raising them up as well, supporting them, and actually making them shine as individuals. All this takes a lot of training, So, and it's people are leaving our industry. People are no doubt leaving ecological consultancy and other ecological and environmental jobs because what we think we're getting better at this, but I think what we're historically poor at actually developing the skills we need as managers. And I just wanted to. I think this is really important. I'm quite passionate about it. There's a lot of, training courses out there for management, but in my opinion, nothing really that sort of covers what we do as ecologists or environmental managers and environmental leaders, and something that I think we're trying to address in the Ecology Academy itself. And I think we just want to spend a little bit of time about how the different types of management. As I say, I've talked about first line management, middle, senior, and leadership roles. But there's other areas as well. So as a manager, we need to how do we think? What is our thought process? And at our very early stages, it's you may and you have to adapt. I think management, a good manager, is also being able to adapt their lead management style to the individual. So there's not just one form of management. There are multiple forms of management, and you have to tailor your management skills to the individual to get the best out of them, to make sure they can perform to their best of their ability too. And I think that's what it is. It's moving away as a manager. Obviously, you've got your duties to ensure that something gets done, and it gets done correctly, safely. And then as you move up, in terms of the leadership style, it's ensuring that your team has the resources enable them to actually deliver on their responsibilities too. So in the very early stages of management, for instance, it could be you call it reactionary. A reactionary manager. And this is what I'm going to say here. All these styles apply at certain times. There's no right one and nothing you should be building up towards itself. It's just having all these in your toolbox, shall we say. So first of all, the basic form of management is reactionary. Reactionary is that all the decisions need to come from you. Okay. Everything comes from you. You tell an individual what to do, they do it. Okay, and then you basically roll up your sleeves and you just help out. So you get them to do the job. Any problems, you're there to correct it. Okay, that's a reactionary measure. It leads on to sort of a next stage, I think, which is about a controlling sort of manager. And controlling just seems a little bit, I don't want to be a controlling manager. Sometimes you have to be controlling because of the individuals you're working with. Now, controlling doesn't mean that, maybe if you are a first line manager or middle manager, the controlling part of your management style, for instance, may not be so forthcoming if it's more of a competent person you're dealing with. Maybe that's a bit more of a directionary sort of management style. But certainly maybe with an early career ecologist, you need to have that reactionary and also controlling sort of management styles in order to help them out. So controlling is all about the team itself, making sure that a team pulls together. Reactionary is about probably an individual level. Controlling is a bit more about moving on to the team itself and looking about how to delegate, for instance, start of delegating tasks out to individuals. Next stage it is about direction. So giving people direction. So now that this person has maybe got more competence in this particular area, so rather than actually just telling them what to do and making sure and putting in little milestones for them and to come back to you to check, and so you can, it's that reactionary control level. Now directing is giving them more autonomy to actually undertake the task themselves. So you can sort of, your contribution is through others, so their task, they deliver the task, and together as a team, then you've let them decide how they're going to undertake it. Maybe some milestones and sort of some corrective measures in there, but you can, at the moment you're going to say this person is now a little bit more competent, you're going to put in sort of a little bit more of autonomy to that individual. And then we're moving through to maybe even facilitating and leading people. So the sort of higher ends now, facilitating is you let them come up with their own solutions. So they may come to you with a question, for instance, or a problem, and it's coaching, mentoring them, enabling them to find their own solution. So there's great work. So this moves away from that reacting, controlling, and maybe directing sort of leadership style to more as a facilitating area. So you're helping them learn themselves. So they're developing their own self-awareness and also their own skill set in terms of actually development. And then finally, leadership. So management, leadership, okay, it's sort of a crossover point. You can be a great manager, but a very poor leader, for instance. You may be a great controlling manager, and I say there's nothing bad about being a controlling manager in the right aspects. But you could be a poor leader, for instance. So, it's more strategic led. It's about creating clarity and also about being an ambassador to your people as well. And this is more, as I say, you probably wouldn't be leading people or leading teams at the very first, as a first line manager. It's more about sort of, I say, that reactionary, controlling, directing sort of stages. And just think about how you could do this. I mean, there are courses out there that run for maybe 6 days, so you can have a whole week of leadership and management training, and they sort of tend to bundle it all in together as well. So like 6 days worth, or occasionally 14 days worth of leadership and management training, and that's great if it's all, I'm sure it all gives you an insight into things, but it's rather rushed in my opinion in terms of the, again, my leadership, my sort of learning style is that I have to go away and reflect upon the learning itself, and I can't implement it all in one go. So you may have all this great information about right from first line management all the way up to I'd say being a leader, and you've got all this information in front of you, but how do you implement it? So it's you don't have that opportunity, especially if you're a first line manager, and all of a sudden now you're being focused with, you've been tasked to actually then lead. It's something that I think it takes time. You're going to learn. You need to learn from your own mistakes, learn from other people's opinions, have a mentor yourself, be coach yourself. So I personally have a coach and a mentor, and I always will, because I know that I don't know everything. I don't think anyone does know everything, and also I can improve. If I did know a lot, I'm sure there are different ways of doing things, and just because someone does something differently doesn't mean it's wrong. Just means there's different ways of actually achieving things. So there's a lot of different things we can look at. So there's the manager's mindset, for instance. So what the manager does and how they contribute for others, including their own personal learning and reflection styles. Courage. I mean, how much courage do you have? Do you need courage? A growth mindset, we've heard about that before. And also about psychological safety, making sure that you are comfortable in your competency itself. Are you supported? Then there's also, of course, about different areas like building effective line management relationships, so understanding yourself and others. There's also, how do you perform? How do you manage performance of other people? And so that could be through goal setting. So a goal setting for other people as well as yourself. Looking at your one-to-ones, your appraisals, personal development plans, how you manage your time, how you manage their time, prioritization, all these different sort of management styles that you may need to actually develop. And I don't think this can be achieved upon like a 6-day course at all. Other areas, what about delegation and empowerment? So, how do you delegate things out? When is the right time to delegate out a task? And some people are so controlling that they really, one of their sort of, I suppose, I say faults, one of their things they need to be aware of is that they are controlling the sort of the whole aspects of it, maybe a survey itself. So they're the ones that all the way undertake the survey, or they're the ones that always undertake the report writing or the quality assurance, the QA part of the report itself. But sometimes you need to let go of the vine, as I'm trying to do. Let go of the vine and delegate out certain tasks, and you have to anticipate that they will do it differently. Everyone's going to do something differently. It may not be the way you've done it or you would have done it. Doesn't mean it's wrong, okay? So, just like how you adapt your management style and approach to suit the person. So situational leadership, listening, as I say, communication, it's about listening, it's about questioning, and also those coaching areas as well. And empowerment, giving them a chance, give them the opportunity and the freedom and the security to make mistakes. Okay, so I'm sure people, everyone will make a mistake at some point. It's how we learn from our mistakes. Okay, so if we keep repeating those mistakes, that's not good management. It's not good leadership. It's not accountability. There's no accountability there. We just need to ensure that we do support those people, and they're encouraged. That it's not like a fear of failure. In some companies, the fact that you can't, it's asking questions. So in some organisations, and I'm sure very few in ecological and environmental sector jobs, but there are a few out there. It's that fear of failure. You have to put on a face, a mask, in order to actually move on and through your sort of a management career. Now, clearly, if people are failing, you're going to have some sort of difficult conversation with them. And it has to be well thought out. So it has to be sort of evidence-based, analytical. So what are the reasons behind the actions that the other person has taken? So it's about managing performance. And equally, it's also having the ability to say no to others. And finally, I think just to leave you with this now, is also about resilience and well-being. I think my role as a manager has certainly changed over 20 plus years. Before, about well-being was probably very much low down, if not even talked about, as part of our management style training at all. It's just literally old-fashioned, really just put up and shut up. It is literally just get on with the job. Don't want to hear moaning. Just bring me solutions. Don't give me your problems. And there's some companies out there who still go by that mantra. Don't bring me problems, bring me solutions, and that's great if you're supported and there's other areas to go to. But if you're just literally out of pressure on the managers because they don't want to hear your problems, that's certainly going to be an issue for the development of your company, you as an individual, and certainly as that whole toxic sort of culture there within that company itself. So it's looking about managing your own energy, managing the energy of others, looking at boundaries. When is it right to do something? When is it wrong to do something? Inappropriate? It's looking at those situations, having the ability to raise your voice as well, being open, honest, transparent, all those different areas, being able to contribute to maybe someone gives you feedback. Actually receiving that feedback, you have to be open and honest yourself. Coping under pressure, looking at this, there's no doubt we all are under stress and under strain at certain points of our life. Okay, being overworked, I think is just that, it will happen at some point, but it's whether or not that's prolonged. So it's looking at the resilience and well-being, before it's ensuring that, in high periods of stress, there are opportunities then to relieve that stress, and also identify the reasons what's causing it and maybe trying to alleviate that. But it probably won't be eliminated entirely. So it's also being self-aware of those areas, looking at how you cope and the mechanisms you put yourself as a manager. Because one thing, you may be a great manager, you may be great at supporting your individual, your team, great at supporting individuals, but who supports you? So you've got to look at, this is why we've got, first line managers, middle managers, senior managers, and executive level. Everyone has responsibility for someone, okay? So leaders do not, because they're at top of the chain, shall we say, that, they do not, they still have responsibility for others as well. It's not something you can just delegate out. Is that, okay, well, I'm just going to look after myself. You have to look as a manager, managing your team, managing individuals, but also remembering to look after yourself. And that's the part of this being self-aware. So, as I say, I'm going to leave you with that. I mean, as I say, there's many topics we need to look at in terms of your own skill set for this year, for 2023. So whether they be the technical skills, and I say I'll put the technical and transferable skills onto the show notes. Have a look at wherever you got this podcast or you listen to this podcast. Have a look at the notes, have a look at the link, get the skills wheel if you need it. If not, I say we are developing some sort of a management training course now coming up, which should be no surprise to you, because I think I'm quite passionate about the fact that we as managers, we are we need to be supported. We need to be empowered. We need to be trained just as much as we have been upon our maybe technical skills. It's not something you can learn overnight. It's many years. We will make mistakes. Also, don't think it's a course, something you can learn on a 6-day training course, for instance. It is going to be a long-term investment. There's skills you need to know now. Maybe if you're coming into management, being progression, your career progression is moving on from being a consultant to actually, a consultant to some sort of manager, and your first time, and you may be put off because you're thinking, I don't want to manage people, and that could be because you're not supported in terms of your own management style, or you don't know until you actually have a go, and you may think actually, once you're supported and given the tools in order to help you help others, that changes the whole level. It really does make a hell of a lot of difference. If you've got the skill, so think about it, undertaking maybe a Great Greater Newt survey. If someone just told you to go out and do a Great Greater Newt survey, there'd be a lot of research you have to do yourself and try and find out, and there's going to be a lot of trial and error there. All of a sudden you realise, I didn't realise I needed a license to do something. You wouldn't do it. You would get there's training from individuals, training from your manager, training upon external courses of how to undertake a species survey. It's no different to management. Okay, don't think you should go it alone. I think you need to be supported. I think there should be support out there, and hence I think that's the reason why we're developing these courses. So do stay tuned for that over the next course of the next few months. Something that'll be happening maybe towards the tail end of the year, by the way. So it's something that we're looking at towards October time. But anyway, that's all for now. As I say, a very happy new year to you all. Hope you get what hope this year you get what you want, and you're looking towards progressing towards that career itself. But for now, thank you for joining me on the Ecology Academy podcast. If you enjoy our show and want to help, then please click on the subscribe button and rate us on your favourite podcast player, as that's how you can inspire ecologists in the making, help retain great talent, and provide insights of our industry to a much wider audience of why ecology really does matter. Thank you.